We weren't
I couldn't
sure.
let you off the hook, John. I had to carry us through every single pick. That's the rules.
I thought you were. I thought you were dubious. I thought you were like, I can't do this anymore. They're killing me. It's sixth round. Yeah, sixth round is where the lacrosse players come in.
Oh
It's
yeah,
where
you're gonna
punters.
get some.
Your punter's gone. The Pats are on the clock. We are here in round
Yep.
6. We're gonna hang for a bit. We're not staying till 2:45. Damn it! But we might hang till 2:10.
Yeah, we'll hang till 2:10. So I have a big picture thought that I'm sort of going through right now with this Patriots draft, and this is, I think, where I'm at emotionally with what we witnessed over the last 3 days here. It goes back to me to an old theory from Bill Parcells. And Bill Parcells had this theory called the planet theory, which means that there's just so many people on the planet that are that athletic, that move like that are that special, right? And I think the biggest concern that I have with the draft so far isn't necessarily that they haven't done the right things, they haven't addressed the right positions or something like that. They took a guard, they took a receiver, they took a running back, they took 2 corners. Like, I think they've addressed the needs that they had to address for the most part. But when I look at this draft, and I understand that grading upside or grading upside immediately following a draft pick is a flawed exercise. I get that. We haven't seen these guys in an NFL game. But when I look at this draft, I look at it and I say, which one of these players are we going to be handing a red jacket to in 20 years? Does any of these players even have the potential for that kind of career, right? And I just don't think so. I don't think the Patriots have taken any players here. I think they've filled needs. They've plugged some holes. They've gotten guys that I think they probably feel can play in their system. Cole Strange can be a starting guard with the Patriots. Tyquan Thornton can be a starting X receiver with the Patriots. Marcus Jones can be a starting slot corner with the Patriots. Pierre Strong can be a starting running back with the Patriots. But are we going to look back on it in 20 years and say Tyquan Thornton was Deion Branch? Are we going to look back on it and say that Cole Strange was Logan Mankins? I'm not there with this class. And I think that's why it feels like such a downer, right? Because last year they came out of that draft with Mac Jones and Christian Barmore. And I could see both of those guys being great Patriots for a long time and maybe potentially being, in that Patriots Hall of Fame status someday. They have that kind of talent, that kind of ability.
Kevin Harris, running back, South Carolina.
So they took another running back. This time they take more of, from what I understand.
This is big. He's big. 5'10", 220, 4'6", 40 are the
So this
measurables.
is a big power back. Yeah, that's from what I understand is what we're looking at here. So if the Patriots must feel that Pierre Strong is more in that James White, Shane Vereen type of mold, they must think that they're going to get more of that do-it-all back type of player with Pierre Strong. Kevin Harris is more of like in that Ramondre Stevenson type of body type. And maybe even smaller.
3 running backs. 2 running backs, 2 cornerbacks, 1 receiver, no linebackers, no interior defensive help. And again, here's the point in the draft where honestly it doesn't matter, because even if they draft a position that you wanted them to draft, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to stick or contribute or anything right now. So again, drafting specific roles here, maybe special teamers, guys that can fill something. I hard to envision a role for Kevin Harris on the 2022 Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big bruising power back, has good vision between the tackles, but somebody that is going to run people over. Like, he knows it too. That's kind of his game. He's a one-trick pony. He's not going to try to bounce the runs outside. He's not going to try to outrun somebody in a foot race in the open field. He's going over you or he's going down. Like, those are the 2 things that he can bring to the table. So the Patriots here take a running back that, I mean no slight on this player when I say this, but the running back that gets what's blocked and is just the safe pick, it to me is Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. Like that's like
Yeah.
always the one that I go to, and I feel like a guy like Kevin Harris has that Ben Jarvis Green Ellis type of vibe. Like, that he can be that kind of guy for you where he's not going to screw up. He's not going to fumble. He's just going to kind of get what's blocked, get what's there, and go down. Right. And that's kind of where we're at. I guess maybe the one thing that you can think of that's you can sell yourself on this a little bit more, it is the fact that typically works here, right? Like those types of running backs that just kind of churn out yards and let the O-line do the dirty work and run behind their blockers and finish runs but with good power. Those backs can be productive in New England. Those guys like Ben Jarvis Green Ellis had 1,000-yard season, I believe, in 2010 or 2011 with the Pats. So that's where we're at. We're at the point of the draft where can you envision this guy having a role on your roster? Yes or no? That's kind of where we're at with the draft. I do wonder, the Bills took Ariza at 180, I think it was. You do wonder if that would have been in play here at 183, potentially. So maybe that's another angle of this as well. But yeah, I mean, look, not that the 6th round pick was really going to change my mind where I was going to be like, oh, well, now they got their planet player, right? Like now they checked off the Bill Parcells box, but it's just another one of those picks for the Patriots to me that's just like, meh, fine.
Meh.
Another running back, like
throw it on the pile.
Right. Like I understand, but that it's, I'm not going to try to trash a 6th round pick. It's a 6th round pick, but at the same time, and I'm not going to use the Brady comparison, just a couple years ago, they got Mike Onwenu in the 6th round. Like you don't even have to go to Brady. You know what I mean? So it's just, that's the underwhelming part of it for me with this draft is I just don't feel like any of these guys have the talent, have that high end talent where I'm going to be like, that guy is going to be a stud for the
When
Patriots.
When was the last time you were happy?
When I can't even tell you. Probably when I saw that some of the defensive talent was dropping in the 1st round just to have the Patriots pass on all of it. That was probably the last time I was happy.
Yeah.
But like at the same time here, I don't know what's going on with Darian Beavers from Cincinnati. He should not still be on the board right now. But
now, let me ask you this.
Beavers here, then
Beavers went. So someone traded up right before the Patriots and took Beavers, I believe.
So the Patriots maybe keep getting leapfrogged.
The Patriots might have a leak, Evan. There might be a leak in there.
I don't know. I hope not.
So let me ask you this, okay?
I got it. Beavers went. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah, let me ask you this. So Robert Kraft, I believe, has the internet, right? So Robert Kraft before the draft, threw down the gauntlet, which is like, yeah, we had one good draft. We got to repeat it. We need more. We need more. More. We haven't done anything in free agency. We need more. And we're going to do it in the draft. Right, Bill? Okay. There's no way Robert Kraft hasn't gone home and read that everybody thinks your draft sucks. And everybody thinks
the draft sucks. I think the draft.
I get it. I'm just making a point. Everybody, the analysts, who cares what some people think? That's fine.
Right.
When Bill's gone rogue, he's drafting people wherever the hell he wants to. None of these people are rated where he's taking him. What is he doing? Someone tackle this guy. There's no question Robert Kraft is reading this and seeing it. And once again, he's stuck in an in Bill we trust sort of position, which is I've always kind of stayed out of this guy's way and it's worked. 6 Super Bowls, all of that stuff, but I can't imagine you're thrilled if you're a Kraft thinking like, I wanted to go in there and really make a splash and get some impact players, be aggressive, get some guys that are really going to help us compete. And then to watch, pick after pick be, well, that was a 3rd rounder they took in the 1st. Oh, that guy might have been a 5th rounder they took in the 2nd. There's no way to tune out that noise. I'm not saying it's actionable, but it's out there. that like Bill kind of just went off the reservation and did his own thing again.
So I'm trying not to get too caught up in the first round, third round projections and all the reaches and all that kind of stuff anymore. What I'm more concerned about if I'm Robert Kraft coming away from this draft again is who's our building block? Like who's our pillar out of this class? And you can kind of, maybe you're very, very into guards, right? And you think that Cole Strange is going to be Logan Mankins, and that you consider that a pillar piece, right? You consider that a building block piece. But to me, they needed to come out of this draft, especially at the top, with high impact dudes, like studs, like blue chip players. And the only one that I really am thinking and gravitating towards that could potentially be that is Thornton. I like Marcus Jones too. I like that pick in general. But to me, it's like you got starters, and I think the best analogy I can use is this draft feels like the Patriots hit a bunch of singles, right? It feels like they hit a bunch of singles. Strange, Jones, Strong. Like I feel like they hit a bunch of singles, and the only guy to me that could be a potential home run in the entire class is Tyquan Thornton. And Tyquan Thornton, by the way,
Is also
is
most likely to be the biggest bust in the class.
correct.
So
He's
it could
either
go
going to
either
be
way. Yeah.
it's going to either be a home run or he's going to be out of the league in 4 years, right? Like, there's not going to be any middle ground with Tyquan Thornton. So that's your high upside risk pick. It all has to relate for me, because if you put this draft together and Tyquan Thornton and Marcus Jones and Pierre Strong and Jack Jones and all these other players that they've picked, if you change what they did in the first round with Cole Strange and you put Quay Walker's name in that spot, or you put Devin Lloyd's name in that spot, or you put Trent McDuffie's name or Kyer Elam's name in that spot, then yeah, I will admit that it makes it feel a whole lot better, right? It really does make it feel a whole lot better, because those guys are dudes, right? Those guys are studs. It's an underwhelming draft. And John, you've been joking about it, and I'll fully admit it. My energy level has been completely like seeped out of my soul over the last couple of days, because as a result of all of this, it's too bad, because I thought that last year in particular
was a turn.
Yeah. That was the best draft.
You got it. Okay, I haven't been drafting great, going my way, going off the board, doing my thing. I got to listen to more people, got to take some blue chippers, got to do the right thing. Bing, bing, bing. It worked. Have it go in this direction seems like a departure. It feels like Bill kind of gave the draft, did the collaborative thing last year, and then swooped in this year and said, I know what I want.
Right.
You're new at this. It's your first year. I'll show you what I do, and then, you'll kind of get it, and that's it.
I mean, Marcus Jones is your best defensive player that you drafted, and he's a slot corner to begin with.
Maybe.
And he's 5'8", so that inherently caps his ceiling somewhere at cornerback. I like Jack Jones. I think maybe Jack Jones is another one that you could pencil in as like in that upside category. Former 5-star recruit, USC, Arizona State, a really good production at Arizona State, 10 career interceptions, over almost.
It feels like they grab role players and special teamers. Like it's that's.
Yeah, it just feels to me like they reverted back to, this draft has so many vibes to me like the 2020 draft, where Duggar's a good player. I love Kyle Duggar. I think he's a really good player, but other than that, in that draft, I mean, what have you really come away with? So yeah, maybe Cole Strange will end up being like Kyle Duggar level good, right? And that's fine. But this is It's just
And Kyle Duggar was fine, but there were still very good safeties on the board when they were taken who were possibly and still not possibly who were better than Duggar is now. So again, you went off the reservation. I think Duggar was the first safety taken. I can't remember in that draft. And there were other really good players out there as well. So even if Duggar's a hit, it wasn't a home run hit, you know?
yeah. I don't
Um,
know. It just right, and that's the point, right? Is Kyle Duggar is a hit. Kyle Duggar is a double. All right, let's go with the baseball analogy. That is not a home run, but he's a double. So I think the best case scenario out of some of the picks that they made at the top of the draft, like Strange and Thornton, is that they're also on
but
second base.
like I said, you had McKinney, you had other people out there when Duggar was taken
Yeah,
too.
Jeremy Chin. Yep.
Yep,
Andrew
Chin was another.
Antoine Winfield
Winfield.
Jr.
Yep, Winfield
Yeah.
as well. So there was a
Right.
ton of safeties out there. That's what I mean. Is like
Yeah.
it's very funny. It's taking the position of need, but going. Harry is another example. The tight ends
Yeah.
are another example. Kind of jumping, taking a position of need at a time that it was good on the board to go in that direction, and then going off. I mean, so far off the reservation
Right.
as to defy logic. With so many other consensus. And again, what are we talking about? Media consensus? Sure. But again, to watch teams like KC and Pittsburgh turn in their cards like ding, ding, and take the receivers they took, the fact that Kansas City let you trade up into that slot to take
Right.
Thornton, knowing that they're like, God, that's who you're taking? Yeah. I'll trade with you.
Right.
We're not touching that guy. And I still want a receiver, just not that one. That's got to set off some alarm bells,
Yeah, like I said, I think that the upside and the ceiling of this draft is really where the biggest question is, and I get it. I hate hearing those words come out of my mouth because all these guys could get on a field in July and August and into the future and completely prove me wrong, right? Like Tyquan Thornton could be a 5-time Pro Bowler for all I know. I'm being serious, but all I can go off of and all we can base our analysis off of is all of the homework that I've put in over the last couple of months and my eyes and my understanding of these prospects. And this to me is we got on base with a bunch of these guys. Strange is going to start at guard. Thornton's going to start at the X. Marcus Jones is going to be a slot. And the system will prop all these players up. Mac Jones will get better. He'll take a leap in year 2 and beyond, and he'll elevate the roster. But none of these guys are different. I guess Thornton I keep coming back to because of the 4.28, right? Like that's different. Like no, not a lot of human beings can run a sub 4.3 40-yard dash. So
Right.
That's different. But he's got so much other flaws to his game that it's hard for me to just be like stamp of approval on that pick because he's not a well-rounded prospect, so it's been a tough couple days.
Yeah.
Let me put it to you that way. And they're not in a position as an organization right now. They're not in a position for the safe draft. They're not in the position to just be out there trying to hit singles. This should have been a draft where they were all in at the top of the draft on premium blue chip talent at premium positions. They should have been in on the Georgia guys. They should have been in on, Devin Lloyd was the top prospect throughout the entire process. Trent McDuffie, top prospect throughout the entire process. Kira Elam, they say, we wanted speed, so we drafted Tyquan Thornton. Well, Kira Elam ran a 4.39. It's not like he's slow, so these guys were all blue blood programs, power fives, playing in the college football playoff, playing in BCS bowl games, real big time prospects and players. And the Patriots, I feel like, just played it safe. And in a lot of ways, Robert Kraft, he has been on Bill Belichick's back. And maybe Belichick said, well, I'm just going to take guys that I know are going to have roles on my team, and I'm not going to be super concerned about completely busting on the pick, right? Like, I think Cole Strange is going to be a solid, reliable NFL guard for at least his rookie contract, and then obviously we'll see if they pay him beyond that. But it just doesn't seem like they took any big swings here, and that's the disappointing part about this draft to me. Is again, I keep caveating it with outside of Thornton, it just doesn't feel like they took any huge swings, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope that these guys end up developing into much better players than than I
Yep.
than I'm projecting, and I hope that they end up being better than they are. But it doesn't feel like a draft where I'm gonna sit back in 10 years and say the Tyquan Thornton era was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, so
What
glad they drafted that guy, right?
what
It's
what's
just
what's left here? I mean, again, we're deep here. Any scraps, any players that still intrigue you?
we're really deep. I think at this point in the draft, if the guys are falling, it's for a really good reason that they're falling. And typically, I've seen in the past with the Patriots in particular, when there's a red flag on a player and he's falling for the rest of the league, it's very, very seldom that the Patriots are the team that takes the chance on the flag.
Though they did take Panda Express.
Yeah, they did. But that one, I think we knew was coming at least. But that's what I keep saying though, is like, I, Jack Jones in the fourth round is not the issue that I have with the draft, right? Like, that's not where I'm losing my juju here. That's not where my energy is going to.
I know.
It's the top of the draft, and the fact that they didn't take one of these really blue chip style prospects. Like last year, you take the quarterback from Alabama that just won the national championship. Like, that's a home run pick. Mac Jones was a home run. Last year at this time, when the Patriots took Mac Jones in the first round, we were all swooning, right? Like, it was excitement.
Well, we wanted Fields.
Stop it.
We did. You and I wanted Justin Fields.
I didn't want Justin Fields, but
yes, you did.
I said I did.
You did.
Yeah, I did.
We both did. Anyway, that's fine.
Yeah, honestly, like at this point in the draft, like I see people in the chat talking about,
I still kind of want Justin Fields. Is that bad?
Why did they take another running back? Like, they're throwing darts at this point, guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Bill's drafting almost because he has to.
Yeah, the positions mean nothing. Like, the only thing that they're hoping for is that they're drafting a player that might actually make the roster at this point, right? Like, so if you could say, oh, they need a linebacker. Well, if drafting the linebacker, if the guy is not going to make the roster, then what's the point in drafting the guy, right? So they obviously feel like these backs, and Pierre Strong is a good prospect. Pierre Strong is a real good prospect. So he's somebody that I think is going to be a player for them. But Pierre Strong to me is, he's Damian Harris from Andre Stevenson level talent, right? And not that those guys are bad players, but it's just, I don't know. When you look past back in the history of the Patriots and their drafting, like at the top of the draft, the Patriots needed another draft this year where they came away with a Devin McCourty or a Rob Gronkowski or a Chandler Jones or a Dante Hightower, right? Like, that's what they needed. And I just don't even feel like they tried in this draft to make that kind of pick happen, to get that kind of pick here. And that's disappointing because they're just not in a place in their rebuild where they can go back to, oh, we're just going to take the safe guys. Like, we're just going to take the guys that are going to fill roles. And, we don't really like the draft, so we're just going to take a guard here and he's going to be a starter and we're going to be satisfied with that. That's not where they're at. This is not 2010 2003 when they drafted Logan Mankins, or 2004, whatever it is, right? This is a different time. So
yeah. Don't draft guards ever. Not in the first round. Not in the first 2 rounds. Okay, that's it. There should be rules. Okay, there should be rules. We are at 193. Patriots picking at 200.
The 200th pick in the draft is going to change my mind. That's what I'm going to.
That's going to turn it around for you.
Everybody is. Alex Barth is the one that's trying to change my mind the most right now. He's higher on this. He's higher on this draft than I am. And
is that what's happening? Is he doing that just because he needs to change your energy?
I don't know, but he's like, I think you're underrating Marcus Jones. Like, best case scenario, who is Marcus Jones? Jonathan Jones, probably, right? Like, that's
who I love.
Who's a great Patriot.
I love Jonathan Jones. They missed him a lot last year. I love Jonathan Jones.
Yeah, that's probably the best. What we're looking at, right? Like, that's the hope is that he develops into a Jonathan Jones for the older Patriots fans here, a little bit older. Like, we talked about Ellis Hobbs last night a lot with Marcus Jones.
Yep.
Jared, stop it. It's okay to be disappointed. Like, it's okay to be objective and say, okay, this draft is what it is. Right. Yeah. And
I got to tell this chatter. If you want insight, read the Bible of work Evan's done on all of these draft picks. That's the insight. Okay. That's the insight. A lot of homework on a lot of these guys. Okay.
I appreciate you. Yeah.
It's a lot of homework. That's a lot of insight. There's a lot of study. There's a lot of film study that goes into this. Evan's not just frigging mad. I'm a Patriots fan. I want receivers. No, he did his homework, guys. Okay. Yeah. You know, he studied all of these guys. He's got a reason to feel the way that he feels right now. But Jared's going to stay with it. It's a good draft, but says Jared. He's still
okay. All right. Look, Again, I don't think it's a bad draft. I think I'm not calling it a bad draft. I just don't think they hit a home run. I don't think this is a home run draft. Last year, it was a home run draft as soon as it ended. Like, I could have told you last year that they did a great job in the draft.
Yes, and you did.
Year.
And that is a fact. Loved Barmore. Stevenson was, what were we talking about?
And I saw it.
Also, what was interesting comparatively last year to this year, Evan, is after Mac Jones, the next couple of picks the Patriots made, all were guys that people are like, I had this guy rated much higher. Amazing that the Patriots were able to get them there. Yeah. I had this guy as my blank best player, you know? So the Patriots were doing the opposite, which was like getting quote unquote value relative to what the consensus was saying about these players. That's why this draft is so shocking, because you're due for one of these types of picks, a draft from these guys. It happens all the time. It's that was the head scratcher. We knew it. We knew they were going to send us rushing to the programs. They did it over and over and over again. That's what was so surprising, is that they had, as you said, you talk about a small board. It felt like their board had 15 names on it this year, you know?
Yeah, and yet they kept on accumulating draft picks.
Yeah.
So that's the other part that I don't really understand about it. And I also think about it too, and I think this is the biggest thing for me as well, is you gave up 47 points to Buffalo last year in the wild card round. And I just don't know if you got any better on defense. Marcus Jones, I think, could help you in the slot, like I keep saying. I think Jack Jones has upside as an outside corner. And maybe, he could take a Malcolm Butler / JC Jackson kind of career path where 2 or 3 years from now, he's an outside starter for you, right? I think that's potentially there for Jack Jones. But their defense isn't any better than it was 3 days ago. They still don't have a ton of speed, and they still don't really have the defensive line. I don't think they play all the safeties the way that they're going to want to deploy them, because they didn't take a defensive lineman. So that's the other part of it too. And I hope that I mentioned this earlier, maybe yesterday. I'm losing track of days at this point. That it's a really good nose tackle class. It's a really good big body, two gapping, Ted Washington type of nose tackle class. So there is a couple of guys here. I don't think McCall's gone yet. That's one of our guys that we're really big on Patriots beat. And you also have, you have guys like Noah Ellis, for example, too, from Idaho. There's some good two gapping, big body nose tackles in this class. And that's maybe a direction that they could go with one of these last couple of picks here. DJ Davidson from Arizona State, might as well draft another Arizona State guy, right? Because that's all we're doing. So draft
Herm
another
likes him.
Arizona State guy. And there you go. I mean, those guys, I think, those guys I think could help them out, right? I think those guys can help them out. I don't know why the Harris pick is the one that pushed you over the ledge. It's a 6th round pick.
I know, but you know what it is? People just probably hung onto the ledge a little longer than you did, so they were ready to go. They were ready to go off earlier, and that was it. What pushed Evan off the ledge, and he didn't share it with you guys, was the backup quarterback. Okay. That's what
I might have been off the ledge before that, honestly.
I know, but that's what got him. As soon as we clicked end stream and we went off, what are we doing here? Backup quarterback, come on.
That's when it hit me. That's when it hit me.
It all just I was like, all right, man, that's cool. I was like, I'll give you your space. That's where whatever happened there happened.
I think the reason why I reacted that way was at that point in the draft, like the Patriots took Ramondre Stevenson in the 4th round last year. Like at that point of the draft, there's still
still quality talent. Exactly.
Right. And they took a player that you hope never plays. So I can't. John, I don't think we can hear you. You're muted. That's what the problem is. You muted yourself. Oh, we got you now.
I did. I had to cough. That's kind of what got me too. Is best case scenario, this guy doesn't play.
Right.
So
that was the problem. Is you're sitting there and you still got talent, real guys that could be starters. Maybe not right away, but certainly have developmental traits to be starters eventually someday. And
I didn't see running back being the thing they were going to double up on either. Cornerback, yes. Running back, no.
No. But I don't know. I hate being so negative. Like I'm not a negative takes type of person. Like I do try to be as positive as I can, but as I keep on repeating myself, it just feels like all these guys are just so like when you like forget about like the planet theory and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm even questioning, like I don't even know how many of these guys are going to get a second contract with the Patriots, let alone be all-time great Patriots, and some of that has to do with the fact that they just won't pay those guys. Like if Cole Strange ends up being a good guard, like Joe Thuney level good, they're just not going to pay him, right? That's part of the problem. But bigger picture, I don't even know if some of these guys are going to be on the team in 5 years. And you can't give me that kind of, like when they drafted Mack, when they drafted Barmore, I was like, okay, these guys are going to be here for a while. Like these guys are going to be Patriots, and these guys are going to be great players for the Patriots for beyond just 4 years. Now this draft, I don't feel good about any of them, honestly. And that's disappointing because, obviously we get jacked up for the draft. We do all this coverage, all this kind of stuff. And we'll see. I keep on hoping I'm wrong, but to be honest with you, it's not just me. I've gotten texts from people around the league that I talk to being like, what are they doing? Right? What are they doing? Especially after the Bailey Zappi pick. That was that people were already on that train of like, what the hell is going on? First round, my phone is blowing up after they take Cole Strange, and people are a lot of people are like, well, that's the Patriots, and they beat to their own drum, and that drum's been successful in the past. So we'll see what happens, but it's still like a question mark, right? Like a perplexing look on it.
So I mean, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. 196 is in. Again, we'll ask it just because we'll go through the exercise. Anybody left here that you're still think would be intriguing prospect?
There are some linebackers that I can make sure that are actually still available, but guys like Zacoby McClain, I think, is still out there. There are some linebackers I think could help. And honestly, this has been the point of the draft in the past. We're all linebacker, and then the Patriots give us a Landon Roberts, right, or Juwan Bentley or something like that. So this at this point of the draft, I think that's they didn't prioritize linebacker in the same way. I think Macro said it. He looked at Cam McGrone as basically a rookie, as a draft pick, right? They're, I think, essentially evaluating Cam McGrone like he would have been a third round pick in this year's draft. Yep. So they kind of feel that way about McGrone. So they obviously haven't prioritized linebacker. I would really like to see one of them get one of these nose tackles, though. That's, I think,
what do you expected out of Ronnie Perkins in year 2?
I don't expect anything out of Ronnie Perkins until I see Ronnie Perkins do something. It's not anything against Ronnie Perkins. I'm not saying that I think Ronnie Perkins is a bust or a bad player or anything like that, but I have zero expectations until he gives me a reason to have him. It's just, he's just somebody that I think the biggest thing the concern that I always had with Ronnie Perkins when they drafted him was the fact that he didn't play the role in college that they're going to be asking him to play in the NFL. He played as a 4-3 defensive end in Oklahoma with his hand in the dirt. Now they're converting him to a stand-up 2-point stance outside linebacker. So there was always going to be a transition there for him, which is why I think most of us assumed that he wouldn't play last year anyways. So we'll see. Well, we'll see what happens. I just can't give any. I say the same thing about Cam McGrone. Like, everybody's so high on Cam McGrone because of the college tape and what he did at Michigan, and it's like, okay, I mean, let's wait and see. None of us have actually seen him in an NFL practice, let alone in an
But this
NFL
is what
game.
I'm talking about with the linebacker situation. Obviously, with when you've got McGrone and you've got Perkins and you almost nothing out of Josh Uche. We used it. You told the anecdote about like, hey, I've spent capital on receivers. Just look, I drafted Harry and then I traded for Sanu. They spent capital on linebackers. We haven't seen any of it. We haven't seen it bear fruit.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, they really haven't been able to develop any of those linebackers. Uche, Winovich. I think Jennings is kind of his own thing. I don't think he was ever the same after the injury, and he just never was the same athlete, and that was why it hasn't really panned out with him. Obviously, they traded Chase Winovich. So they've tried. They've been trying at that position for a couple of years now to restock and get more explosive and get some athletes and get some good players, and they haven't been able to. So we'll see.
198 pick is in with Philly, which really means Patriots are probably pretty close to on the clock here. Are people tipping picks anymore, or it just nobody does it by the 6th round? There's no point, right?
No, I think that there are still some people hanging on. I mean, once you start, if you've done it for the first like 5 rounds, then you can't just all of a sudden.
I saw some people start to taper a little bit. They're like, how many favors are you going to call in? Hey, who went?
That's another good point in the chat. Sean Wade.
Yeah.
That's another good point. Sean Wade, I think, is a guy that in this draft is probably a second or a third round pick, right? Maybe a third round pick. Being a little generous there with the second, because who the heck knows? So
anybody's a second round pick in Bill's world. So yeah, let's call him a second round pick.
Sure. Yeah. So maybe a guy like Sean Wade is somebody that they see as another outside corner with good developmental traits, which he certainly has, and maybe they're hoping they're going to get a lot out of that guy, similar to Cam McGrone. So we'll see. I mean, look, I'm not writing off this draft completely. It's not the draft that I expected them to have. I really expected the draft to mimic what they did last year. Again, if it's not broke, why fix it, right? Like, why change what was working? And it
It's
wasn't
so
like
funny. It's just so funny. Robert Kraft is like, I love what Bill did last year. I
right.
loved it. Another one like that would be great. And Bill's like, okay, like that, huh?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's just, it is
I
what it is.
gotcha. I read you. Just like
Yeah.
that. All right, we're on to pick 199 here.
And look, I could sit here and throw out names. I know people are asking for names, who's still available. Like, at this point, they're not going to pick any of the names that I say. And I'm not saying that it's going to be, a bad pick or anything. I'm just saying, hey, they're on their own. They're on their own with these picks, especially at this point. They were already on their own to begin with.
Yep. All
So
right. Patriots are on the clock here with 200. Carolina's pick is in right now. So here we go. Here we go. Let's get crazy, Evan. Make a prediction. See if you can hit one on the nose here.
Noah Ellis, nose tackle from Idaho.
Yeah?
That's who I'm going with.
He said with whatever remaining energy was left in his body. Yeah, on the clock here, 200. I can't find the graphic. I'm a little laggy right now. All right, Patriots on the clock, 200. They got another one at 210. We're going to sign off after that. We're not hanging all the way to 245. Apologies for that. But Evan's still going to profile 245, whatever that pick ends up being.
Hey, last year was an exciting pick. Their 7th round pick was Trey Nixon, which we could at least dig our heels into
A receiver. Yay.
Yeah. They haven't taken a receiver.
No, I'm saying Nixon.
Yeah, I got you.
Was the first one in 2 years or whatever.
So Cade Mays went to pick ahead of the Patriots here to Carolina, who's a versatile offensive lineman, somebody that can play 4 different positions, 5 different positions, has the tools to play tackle potentially. That would have been a good pick here. That would have been somebody that I think Carolina might have taken a few guys off the Patriots board. I don't know if the Patriots necessarily would have automatically picked those guys if they were still there, but we'll see. It's an interesting kind of what if. I think you mentioned the one with Kansas City, right? The Kansas City draft, you could look at it and say, oh, wow, that
could have been
that
the Patriots
draft easily could have been the Patriots draft, right? So we'll see. I'm waiting to find out the pick here, but
waiting to be wowed.
Waiting to be wowed. I think Bo Melton's still available. Is that true?
I think so too.
Yeah, that would be exciting.
Somebody tell us if we're wrong. Are we wrong? Is he still available?
I think he is.
Yeah.
So
okay, that would be exciting. New England's on the clock, minute left to go here. And we'll see who that is. But yeah, Bo Melton. Any other things that would be exciting to you?
I keep coming back to the defensive line. I really think that the plan here is to put the athletes out on the field at safety, right? Like Jabril Peppers, Adrian Phillips, Kyle Duggar. If they're going to do that, they're going to need some beef. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's still, to me, I feel like that's the direction that they need to go into here. And by the way, in the chat, people have looked up my draft grading and my draft history all the time. Like, go nuts. Like,
yeah,
have at it. I really could care less.
What are they questioning? Are they questioning whether or not you actually liked last year's?
No, they're just saying, oh, Evan's got all the answers or whatever. Go ahead. I don't care.
Guys, Evan has actually all the answers. I hate to tell you. Well, he has a lot of answers. But boy, again, when it comes to the Patriots, obviously nobody has any actual answers because we are left guessing. And again, it is just kind of strange because they went so far off the reservation in this one. But again, at this point in the draft, we're talking about what? You know, some bodies, camp bodies, special teamers. Maybe you catch somebody. And again, as you mentioned, you know, you did it. You plucked Michael Onwenu out of the 6th round. So I mean, it's
Right.
not impossible to find somebody. Obviously, we know about Tom Brady, so we're not going to talk about that. But I mean, again, you can still find some football players here. Pats have made their pick, waiting to see who that is. And again, I think the pick tippers are starting to get lazy.
So yeah, I believe it's Sam Roberts from Northwest Missouri. So this one is like, I don't even know if like NFL.com has a write up on this guy. Like, you know, that's how down the road we are with this one. Uh, he's a sleeper, right? Like he's somebody that is a sleeper. That's exciting about him, you know. And a lot of people are like, what weren't really sure if he'd get drafted, but I'm just that's all I can't really say much more about him, honestly.
He's a person.
Um, he exists. Yeah, he's one of those guys that I've seen a lot of. You know, a defensive lineman. By the way, I'm sorry, I didn't say that. He's a defensive lineman. He can take on some blocks. He's somebody that played a smaller school. That seems to be a theme for them in this draft. I mean, they've taken how many small school guys now at this point, FCS guys, right? So it's another one of those picks where you look at this is what they're doing in this draft. Like they clearly don't love the high profile guys. So you know, we'll see. But yeah, he defensive lineman, a really good pass rusher down at that level of football. Can get after the quarterback. I think he won. I forget what the award's called, like the Cliff Harris Award, I think is what I'm looking at here on Google. He's one of the top pass rushers at that level, right? So he can get after the quarterback and is one of those big time sleeper picks, you know, a diamond in the rough potentially. So I
The
think that this is one.
2021 Cliff Harris Award winner, Small College Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, yeah. So he's a sleeper. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. You know, this is not quite, you know, Cole Strange, right? I mean, obviously Cole Strange had a much bigger NFL background and everything like that, but the Patriots are taking a chance on a deep sleeper here in the 6th round, a guy that I would imagine would probably have been available as a UDFA. So that's where we're at, though. I can't. What else are you supposed to say, right? I mean, these guys at this point in the draft are all deep sleepers. You know, guys that have back end of the roster potential. You know, maybe you get him on a practice squad or something like that. But he can rush. He can rush the quarterback. Not a he's not a run defender. You know, he's 287 pounds. He's 6'4". He's somebody that gets after the quarterback. He's not somebody that is going to, you know, take on a lot of blocks and stuff like that. And we'll see. I mean, I don't really think that I would hold my breath about Sam Roberts too much, but we'll see. Did we lose John? We might have lost John here, but uh, Sam Roberts, the 6th round pick. We can start back on. We can't even find a picture of him, which is a little sad. And yeah, I am finally speechless. That's absolutely true. Finally speechless. I got nothing else in me here, but I just go back to what I was saying earlier, and no one has any of the answers about these draft picks, and it's impossible, you know, to have all the answers, and we'll see what happens with all these picks, but it's just hard to get excited about some of the guys that the Patriots have taken. I don't know if we have John back here. I don't know what happened. My whole screen is freezing up. So we'll see. If you guys can hear John or if I'm talking over John, then please let me know. I'm also really tired too, everybody. So we put that in perspective as well. It's a long 3 days. So is John here or not? Please let me know in the chat if you guys can hear him because I cannot see him. But anyways, the Patriots are back on the clock here at 2:10. So we'll hang out until 2:10 and see what happens there. But I'll go try to dig up some tape on Sam Roberts. That's for sure. I mean, you win an award at any level of college football and get drafted, there's got to be some film on you. So I'll see what I can do. But I will admit that this is not one of the players that I watched pre-draft, which, as you guys can imagine, at this point of the draft is not much of a surprise. So we'll see what happens with Sam Roberts. I'll take some questions, or we can talk about some guys. Oh, we got John back, maybe. He's frozen again. Frozen again. If there's anybody in the chat that you guys want to talk about, anything about the draft or anything at all, then throw it in there, and we'll answer some of these questions, or we'll see what we can talk about here until we get John back. So
Back?
he's frozen in space. Unfortunately, it's a great face that he has on, though. But honestly, at this point in the draft, I don't hate taking somebody like Sam Roberts. I mean, you might as well take a flyer on some of these guys, right? I mean, you're most likely not going to find another Tom Brady. You know, probably not even going to find another Michael Onwenu. So at this point in the draft, taking some flyers on some of these upside guys, not bad. The Bears just took Treston Ebner. That's the guy we've talked about on the pod a lot at running back. So another running back that the Patriots could have taken. They went a different direction with it, obviously. So, just something to monitor there with Ebner. That was pick 203. And let's see if I can do one thing here. All right, there we go. Now I'm solo here on the screen, so get John's frozen mug off the screen there for you. Okay, so we're at pick 203, maybe at 204 at this point if I didn't see it. Treston Ebner was 203, and Sam Roberts is the Patriots pick at 200. Another thing about Sam Roberts, I guess, as I keep doing some digging here, blocked some kicks in high school too. In college, 5 block kicks. So maybe that is somebody that they project that can play on special teams and play on the interior on special teams, and that would definitely be a Belichick thing for you. So, and
Are you seeing me? Am I officially back? No?
I think our whole stream is crashing down now.
You can't see me?
One sec, guys.
Huh. I think I'm back, Evan, and I think you can't hear or see me.
There I am. All right.
Do you see
I think
me?
I'm still here, so that's good. I think we're trying to get John back, so that's good as well. Sorry, folks. Sorry about the technical difficulties. We've been on here for a while, so sometimes the stream gets a little bit faulty at this point. But I see John. I don't see him back up on the screen yet, so hopefully we'll get there in a second. But I don't know. Tell me, you guys, tell me, how do you guys feel about this draft? You think I'm being too critical? You think that I hit it on the nose? I don't know. I'm not the only one with an opinion here. I get that. So
the chat needs to tell Evan that I'm here. There we go. All right. You guys can see and hear me. Evan could not. I've been coming in and out the whole time. I'm sorry, guys. Evan had to leave. He's going to come back, and we'll keep this going. We are at 204. And yes, you should give Evan all the heat that he 5 more picks until the Patriots go until 210. And then we're going to put a bow on it for the rest of the day. But again, Evan's going to have all of his draft profiles up on our website and up on our YouTube channel. So make sure that you check that out. Again, the Patriots have made 2 selections, was it 2?
Yes, two.
Two here in the 6th round with 1 to go, and then they got 1 more coming up in the 7th round, and that's going to wrap it up for them as it is right now. Is that Evan trying to pop on?
I'm here. Can you not hear me?
We'll see if we can solve through our technical difficulties and get us home through 210.
Yeah, I'm here. I don't think John can hear me. John,
Nope,
can you
still
hear me?
waiting on Evan to get back here. Once he comes back, like I said, we'll try to get you through 210 and get your thoughts on everything. We ran a poll here on CLNS Media during one of our earlier chats in terms of which picks that people thought might turn out the best. Most people are the most bullish on Thornton, believe it or not. And again, that makes sense because, as Evan said, he's kind of got the most boom bust potential among all of the potential picks here. The 4.28 speed is something you can't really, you
All
can't
right, what
really
about now?
simulate anywhere else. And so that's something they've never really had before and something that is welcome. We heard the Patriots talking about it. Groh was talking about it in their press conference yesterday, kind of defensive about the picks that the Patriots had taken, and was talking specifically about how they were trying to be more athletic. Seems like Evan is back, and now neither of us can hear one another. So we
I can
may
hear
have to
you. Can you not
abort
hear
this
me?
altogether. Or I'm going to try one more time to leave.
I don't even know if everybody else can hear me. This is turned into a we see and hear Evan. All right, so they got me. It's John. I'm not sure if we have now. What a disaster this has turned out to be, but we're gonna try to power through this until 210, guys. Sorry for all the technical difficulties, man. This has been a rough go of it here as we kind of try to close this out, but we're gonna do our best to close out here and hopefully get John back, and that's the goal. I can see John. I don't know if you guys can see John, but I can see him. But the whole stream is kind of lagging on all of us. But we'll see what happens here. I'm glad you guys can at least hear me. But yeah, interesting note here too about the Patriots. Sam Roberts and Kyle Duggar both Cliff Harris Award winners. So non-Division One Defensive Player of the Year. Patriots got 2 of them now, so that's interesting as well. And like I said, I'll try to dig into some tape here. All right, let's see if we have John back.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Wow.
That's never happened. We've done about, between Evan and myself here at CLNS Media, we've probably done hundreds of streams at this point. And that's a problem I've never seen before. One on, couldn't hear the other. I had to switch browsers. Sorry, I'm sure it was funny for the people at home.
Oh yeah, they had a good time at our expense. So there you go.
What are you gonna do? Just just 2 blind guys, trying to get through this. Anyway, whatever. It's technology.
It's the 6th round. It's day 3 of the draft. I wouldn't have it any other way. This is the way it's supposed to go.
Oh God, we did it. All right, thanks, guys. Welcome. Thanks for hanging in here. Yeah, we did it. We kind of needed that. The way it was going, because I think we were tired of listening to each other complain. We got 3 picks to go until the Patriots go at 210, and then mercifully our draft experience is going to be over.
Yes. Yeah.
Did your boy Melton go or anybody else go?
I don't think so. Not yet. But there's some people that, some of the people I follow on Twitter and stuff like that dive really deep into the draft, guys that are just draft specific, right?
Year round.
Yeah, they're talking about Sam Roberts, and there's definitely some people that are excited about it. Yeah, and I guess that's the way to put it. Yeah.
What I was trying to say, and again, while we were struggling, and some of the people might have heard, but you couldn't hear me, is I like these types of small college guys later in the draft, which is crazy production, didn't have great competition, but they're impossible to assess because of who they played against. And these are this is definite diamond in the rough pick, perfect for the 6th round, Perfect.
Yeah.
Could theoretically fill a need. And if it doesn't work out and he doesn't even make it out of training camp,
Yeah.
it's fine. It's
Right.
fine. It's pick 200. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I like taking picks like that there because you have somebody who was flat out dominant at the level, of football that he played last season. So I think that that's
Yeah.
a good thing. What kind of stuff are they saying about him?
Well, the other thing that I think really, stands out with this point in the draft in the 6th round, you got to be able to play on special teams to even have a chance of making the roster.
Right.
And this kid apparently blocked 5 kicks in college as well. So he's somebody that can play on the interior of the kick block team as well, and maybe get some penetration and get his hands up and block some kicks. So that's obviously where you're projecting at this point of the draft is what can these guys do in the kicking game, whether it's returning, whether it's covering kicks, whether it's blocking or rushing. If you're going to make the roster as a 200th overall pick, then you got to be able to do those kinds of things, right? And they have a player here with Sam Roberts who at least one way on the team for him will be in the kicking game. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at guys that can just make the team at this point. So I don't hate it either. I don't hate these Flyers either. It's not Derek Rivers. It's not like you're drafting the guy in the 3rd round, right? You're drafting him all the way back here in the 6th. So we have a center going here at 207. So we're up in a couple picks. We're getting there to the Patriots, but yeah, I think that there's some. We'll see. I think that this guy has some intriguing tools that might as well take a chance on one of these guys, like you said, at this point in the draft. What's the point?
Right. Right. So yeah, Bo Melton's still there. A lot of people are talking about Slade.
I don't know. I just don't see it with Slade Bolden. I just think there's better options, honestly, in that vein. Like I would much rather Britton Covey, who has at least a little bit more athleticism than Slade Bolden does. Their whole thing, and look, I'm not saying if they want to invite Slade Bolden to training camp as a UDFA invitee, like totally fine with that, right? Like who cares? If you want to give him a
Mac
90-man
will only throw to him.
Yeah, if you want to give him a 90-man roster spot, like sure, whatever, right? But I think the biggest thing that I look at is if the entire draft on offense has all been about speed, right? Especially at the skill positions with Thornton and with Strong.
Then go get Bo Melton. He's like a 4.35 guy.
So this is interesting. The Steelers took Connor Hayward, which is I'm forgetting his brother's name. His brother is on the Steelers. that's the point. So the Steelers, Connor Hayward, I thought was potentially a player the Patriots might be interested in. He's a fullback / tight end. He's one of those versatile fullback players, kind of like in the Kyle Juszczyk type of mold, potentially. Kind of what
Cam, right?
Cam Hayward. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Kind of like what they were hoping Dalton Keene would be, right? That sort of guy. So, I don't know. I think that that's an interesting pick the Patriots could have made here at 210, but they're clearly at this point, they're like, our board is just ridiculous. So we're just all the way down here taking guys from, D2 or whatever. So
hold on one second.
We'll see. Well, I think we're at 208 now. So I'll see what happens. The other thing, too, I find interesting, just kind of spinning a big picture and spinning this all forward a little bit. The Patriots, at least to this point, have not taken a linebacker, have not taken an edge rusher. Sam Roberts is an interior defensive lineman. He's not a true edge stand-up type of guy. He's a hand-in-the-dirt player. So they haven't taken an edge or a linebacker yet. Dante Hightower, still a free agent. Jamie Collins, still a free agent. Kyle Van Noy, still a free agent. All of those players, if they want to play next year, in Hightower's case, they'll be signed starting at some point next week. Once you get to the point of the offseason after the draft, that's when all those veterans begin to sign. So I wouldn't totally rule out that in their plans, that one of those guys coming back is not something that they've already etched in for the
Yep.
time being, right? So I would lean towards it probably being Hightower if Hightower wants to play next year.
What's your
I
indication there?
I think he's 50-50, but I think from what I had heard after the season, he was leaning towards playing, but then it kind of waffled a little bit as we got deeper into the off season. So I lean still towards playing, but I think it's pretty close to 50-50 at this point. And we'll see. I wouldn't mind bringing back one of those guys. Obviously, you don't want to run the whole thing back, and you want to give McGrone, and you want to give McMillan, and potentially Uche, and you want to give all those guys a chance to play, right? You don't want to bury them behind the veterans all the time again. But bringing back one of those guys might not be a terrible idea.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Right. So I think the Patriots are on the clock again. The Bills took a tackle from Virginia Tech, I believe, at 209. 208 was Connor Hayward.
208 was Hayward with the
Cam's brother.
Steelers. Bills just went
Yeah.
at 209, so we're on the clock. Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't hate another offensive lineman here. The Patriots had to do really good with offensive linemen at this point in the draft, right? You know, they tend to be a little bit. They tend to find these diamonds on the line. You know, even we talk all the time about Onwenu, and obviously he's the best case scenario. But even a guy like Justin Herron at least has been a serviceable backup since they drafted him. So, you know, I wouldn't hate that either to go back in the trenches with an offensive lineman. But we'll see. This one, I see if they're taking Sam Roberts at 200, you know, this pick is going to be completely off the beaten path. So
you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this pick.
Oh, okay. I like
don't
the
know.
optimism.
I'm just saying. I'm saying. Okay. Yep. As we said, this pick and then one more at 245. We won't stick around all the way there. But again, just recapping the board. Everyone knows day one, Cole Strange. Day two, Tyquan Thornton trading up from 54 to 50 to get him. Marcus Jones, pick 84. They traded out with their second, third round pick, trading into next year's third round. An excellent trade. They also acquired number 137, which they took Everyone's favorite player of the draft there in Bailey Zappi. Along with Jack Jones, Pierre Strong in the fourth round. No picks in the fifth here. We have taken 2 picks in the second round. Running back Kevin Harris, big dude, powerful. And then Sam Roberts, defensive lineman, who Evan is hearing some decent buzz on. Pick is in for New England. Do we know who we've got?
I haven't seen the pick yet, but yeah, the Rams are officially on the clock, so the Patriots have made a pick here.
Yeah.
So we'll get the name here in a second.
We will get the name here in a second, and this will be it. This is the last chance
Okay,
to
so they
make.
took another guard. This is the first time, I believe this is the first SEC pick of the draft for the Patriots. They have taken Chasen Hines from LSU, guard prospect. LSU's other guard was somebody that a lot of people were pretty high on. And this happens with the Patriots, right? You scout one guard, a guy that's maybe a top 100 type of guy, and you end up taking the other one, right? Like that's sort of the Patriots MO here. I remember they did this a few years ago with Jelani Tavai. They had Logan Wilson, or no, it's Cash Maloia. They had Logan Wilson on their board and Cash Maloia. But this guy's strong, big guy, strong guard prospect. Yeah, definitely has the strength and the size that you want to see.
6'3", 330. Definitely big. Yep.
Hey, I think that he's a guy that can really move people. This will be interesting. You know, this is not that far off in terms of body type and stuff like that to what Michael Onwenu was coming out. A little bit smaller than Michael Onwenu, but he's got power. He's got people moving strength. He can play center and he can play guard. So
had some injuries, to like nagging injuries this year too.
Yeah. So I think the Patriots might look at Cole Strange a little bit more as a guard tackle flex than what we're giving him credit for, because this guy is an interior line three flex player.
Right.
He's a center or guard in the NFL. Uh, Maybe I think I mentioned Onwenu in terms of body type, but you're kind of talking about maybe like a Ted Karras type here, right? Somebody that could potentially develop into a three position versatility backup. So it looks to me like injuries,
A lot
weight,
bigger than Karras, though. This is a
yeah,
big
yeah,
boy.
injuries, weight
This is a
concerns,
big
things
this
like
is a
that.
big guard, 330.
Yep, yep. But I think he can move people. Look, I watched a lot of that LSU offensive line. I'm gonna pull up his teammates report here in a second. I watch a lot of that LSU offensive line to study his teammate, and you see that line be productive as a whole, and you kind of see flashes of this kid in there as well, and you definitely see his size on tape. That obviously stands out first and foremost. So this is one of those picks that the Ed Ingram is who the guard is that he played with, that was looked at as a higher pick in this draft. So you look at this pick and you see a guy that the Patriots take a guy finally. I kept on saying that let's take a guy from a power program like
Yeah.
LSU. It doesn't get much bigger than that.
Yep. So again, positionally, they did some of the things we thought that they might do today, with the
Yeah,
exception of, I guess, the backup quarterback, which did throw you a little bit for a loop. The Ingram went in the second round, pick number 27, which is where Patriots could have comfortably taken their first guard, but that's beside the point. But
yeah,
again, yeah, as you said, so doubled up on guard, doubled up on corner, doubled up on running back through the first 6 rounds here. A backup quarterback, as we mentioned as well. Really nothing from the linebacker position. So I have to think a lot of those guys
yeah.
who were redshirted or who we haven't really seen much of have to be heavily in their plans for the future.
Yeah, I like this Hines pick. This is out of all these picks that they've taken here, all these flyers they've taken here later on in the draft. I think this guy has the most potential to contribute and play. So I think that he can play, and I think he's someone that it will be. We'll see. I think that this is somebody that can play, and I hope that maybe they can hit on one of these guys. Like, that's always the hope, right? Is that maybe you can turn out one of these guys and see what happens. But yes, he can definitely move people at 330. That line played well last year, and that line is well coached as well. They've been a well coached line. A couple years ago with Joe Burrow, they won the Joe Moore Award, best offensive line in college football. So that's a good group. It's always been a good group, and it's a well coached group. So we'll see what happens.
Right.
In terms of darts and flyers go, this is a decent one. This is one that you can get behind.
Yep. So that's what we got here through 6 rounds. Again, overall draft grade, you'll have to wait on that from Evan as he kind of digs a little bit deeper.
I'm not a big overall draft grade guy to begin with.
I know,
I
but
kind of
as you go back and you're evaluating things, there's going to be a lot more that you kind of discover when you're looking at more tape a little bit more
yeah,
critically, now that you know that they've drafted some of these guys. I mean, you already went back and took a deeper look at Thornton to kind of
yeah,
get a better sense of the type of player that he might be. So, but I mean, it's hard. I'm not going to put you on the spot now. You've been talking about it all the way through.
right.
Underwhelming in the sense that you don't think they got any, eh, you know, what we talked about the Patriots needing are playmakers. And I don't know that they got, we'll see. Thornton could be. You got, Jones certainly in the special teams side of
Right.
the ball, can be a playmaker there. So we'll see what they've done for playmaking. But again, athleticism was clearly at a premium. Speed was clearly at a
Yeah.
premium. They addressed that. Obviously, the running back is definitely a playmaker there. So just whether or not they contribute this year, I'm not sure what you're going to see out of some of these players. Certainly not early.
Yeah, I think that that's the biggest thing. I look at this draft and I come away a little bit underwhelmed in terms of the ceiling of the draft. I don't necessarily think the Patriots missed on any of the players that they took, or drafted guys that I'm like automatic bust. I don't really think like that anyways, but in general I don't really think that is necessarily the case, but I'm just a little bit underwhelmed by the ceiling of all the guys that they took, especially some of the guys they took at the top of the draft. I see roles for these players. I see potential for these players to earn starting roles and be guys that, can contribute for the team. But it's a difference between contributing for the team and being stars for the team. And out of this group, I think Tyquan Thornton is the only one that I see star potential out of. And that still is considering a pretty big stretch. Like he's going to have to develop and he's going to have to be, we'll see. Right. So Strange, I think I see solid starting guard. Jones solid starting outside corner. All right, sorry, slot corner. Pierre Strong, solid early down running back, potentially more like in a Rex Burkhead mold, maybe that he could do a little bit of everything. And I guess Jack Jones has some upside too, is potentially an outside corner. But all of this, Tyquan Thornton's the only one that I see that I think is star potential. Now we'll see what happens. These guys can prove me wrong, and I hope they do. And
Yep.
I'm willing to admit that it's very much a broken process to be sitting here at 5:00 on day 3 of the draft in the 6th round and say, I know exactly what all these guys are going to turn out to be, because I don't, right? None of us do. But I'm just concerned about the ceiling. I know the floor is pretty good about this group, though. And I think that that's the optimistic view that you have to take on it. Is the floor of this group is you have multiple guys that I think are going to start. I think Strange is going to start as a rookie. I think Marcus Jones will start on the slot eventually, and I think Tyquan Thornton will start at the X eventually. So those guys can all be starters.
Is there any chance
I wasn't looking for starters, John? I was looking
stars?
Yeah.
Is there any chance someone like Aguilar gets moved?
I don't think so yet. I think it's a little bit too early at this point. You got to see what Tyquan Thornton looks like in camp and before you move on from him. I think that eventually, if we get into training camp and Tyquan Thornton has a hell of a training camp, especially with Devontae Parker already in the mix as well, you could definitely see Aguilar moved. I would think it would be nice though to maybe get something at the end of camp for Aguilar. They've made those trades before in the past where they trade a player on their roster that they're not going to use, and they acquire a player on another roster that team isn't going to use, and then everybody's happy, right?
Right.
So I think that there's a possibility, but Tyquan Thornton is going to have to develop like crazy in a short period of time, I think, for them to completely make Aguilar expendable.
Yep, no doubt about it. We are going to wrap it up. We just want to remind everybody, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Patriots Press Pass, for all of our Evans draft breakdowns and basically everything, that you can get here from a Patriots coverage perspective with the Patriots Beat podcast. Multiple times a week, and there's going to be another one live tomorrow. But all of Evan's analysis and breakdown and news reports and all of that can be found there, in addition to both the Greg Bedard Patriots podcast from Boston Sports Journal's Greg Bedard and Andrew Callahan's Pat's Interference podcast, a new addition to the CLNS Media Network from our Patriots content. Those guys will have some video material going on the site there to get their take on the draft. And spoiler alert, it's kind of similar to how Evan feels about a lot of the players that have been taken so far. We'll see. One programming note that I want to tell people about, if there's Celtics fans among you, and who among you isn't a Celtics fan, Evan Lazar is a season ticket holder, right, Evan?
Hell yeah. Going Tuesday night.
Oh, you are?
Tuesday night.
Check out our Celtics post-game show after Celtics Bucks tomorrow. Subscribe to our main YouTube channel or our Celtics All Access YouTube channel for that. I know a lot of you guys, I recognize some of the names in the chat, consume the content, and you're there and you're chopping it up and hanging out with us. That's a ton of fun. We go as soon as the game ends, and we kind of hang out for an hour and a half or so, talking about the game. So it's an early game tomorrow, 1 o'clock. We should be up with the show around 3:30. Go Celtics, right?
Yeah, go Celtics for sure. That can put a smile on my face. Go Celtics. There you go.
Series predictions, Evan.
I like the Celtics. Celtics in 7. I do think it's going to go 7, but no Chris Middleton, I think, really hurts the Bucks. I know this is maybe a little bit of a hot take, but I'm not like that afraid of Giannis when there's 10 seconds left and he needs to make a shot. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
That just does not really his game, and I think not having Chris Middleton to make that shot is going to matter for the Bucks in some of these games.
That he is definitely, and you remember Giannis saying it last year when he referred to Middleton as the closer,
Yeah.
whereas like that's not what I do, I'll get us there, but this guy's our closer, and you're right, they kind of do lack that closer. But Giannis is a force of nature in terms of what he's able to do, and we saw him
Oh yeah.
basically will them to victory last year, so that's pretty good. So yeah, make sure you check out that post game show. Thank you for hanging out. What's been like I think our 6th live draft show
Yeah, we
since
really
everything
appreciate it.
got started. We appreciate you guys who've been with us the whole time, hanging out, chatting, sharing your opinions, supporting the please subscribe if you haven't, like the video if you haven't, follow Evan Lazar on Twitter, and check us out over at clnsmedia.com for all of Evan's written content as well. We will, as we said, Patriots beat back tomorrow, live with Alex. What time were you saying?
Sometime early tomorrow afternoon, late morning afternoon, because the Celtics are at 1, so both of us are going to want to be off by then. So
Bingo, right. So
yeah,
look for a time there. We'll release that on Evan's Twitter or Patriots CLNS, so you can follow there, or follow John _Zannis on Twitter, and we'll let you guys know when that program is going to be. But one final look, Evan and Alex, who likes it better? Alex likes it a little better than you said, right?
yeah, Alex is a little bit higher on the draft than I am. I would say, again, to me, it's not that the Patriots had a bad draft. I just feel like the Patriots had a safe draft.
Left some on the table, right?
They got on base, but they didn't hit the home run, in my opinion. We'll see. Maybe Tyquan Thornton ends up being a home run. That's what you can cross your fingers on.
There we go. Anyway, all right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We will see you guys next time. Take care.